Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm Raylene Marks, bringing you the top stories from Israel and the region every Monday to Thursday, right here on this platform, but also on our YouTube channel at the Israel Brief. If you subscribe, you play a tremendous role in helping to get Israel's story out to the masses. So all you have to do is click on that big red subscribe button. But before we head into the weekend, let's take a look at the top stories. We've been following the developments following the big blast that happened in Beirut just 2 days ago. Now, Israel has offered aid, and it must be remembered that Israel and Lebanon regard each other as enemies, or at least enemy entities, and through the United Nations Special Envoy, Nikolai Miladenov, negotiations have been taking place, and as far as we know it so far, any foreign civilians will be allowed to be evacuated to Israeli hospitals, and Israeli medical professionals are treating members of the UN, including UNIFIL, that's United Nations Interim Forces in Lebanon. And any developments as far as aid is concerned, we will keep you updated. Last night, in an exceptionally moving tribute, the city of Tel Aviv lit up its municipal building with the flag of Lebanon in solidarity and to pay our respects. This is quite unprecedented. As I said before, the countries regard each other as enemies, and there has been mixed response. The majority of Israelis are extremely proud that here in Israel, the humanity, the sense of brotherhood and humanity transcends politics. In Lebanon, the responses have been mixed. We have seen on social media Lebanese nationals saying that we see your flag and we will rain rockets down on Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv will light up under our rockets. But some saying thank you, and that they hope that one day there will be peace between the two countries. We've also had some elements in the far right in Israel who said that this shouldn't have happened, that it is confusing. But we are proud, the majority of Israelis are proud that despite being two countries technically enemies, we still offer aid, we still show solidarity, we still show that when you remove politics, we are all human. So what are the latest developments? According to French Rescue and Recovery, they say that there is still a chance to find some people still alive, and we do know that as far as foreign nationals are concerned, there have been French and American casualties. The Lebanese government have detained many dock workers and have placed them under house arrest while they investigate. And the reputed cause of the blast was about 3,000 metric tons of ammonium nitrate. Now, there are conflicting reports whether or not this belonged to Hezbollah. It probably has belonged to Hezbollah. This is some kind of modus operandi that they have followed in several countries, including Argentina and in London. And Hezbollah is banned in several countries across the world, including Argentina, Germany, the United States, and several others, and calls are increasing to ban this terror entity. They've also gone on record before as threatening to bomb Israel with their high reserves of ammonium nitrate. So investigations will be underway, but this has also led to a lot of distrust by the Lebanese in their government, whether it's to be able to rein in Hezbollah or because they didn't monitor this properly. This will all come out in investigations, and this couldn't happen at a worse time for the Lebanese state because the economy has been steadily declining, and they now have to contend with massive fallout because of coronavirus. The blast has destroyed about 85% of the country's grain reserves, which is also going to lead to a major feeding issue. An Arab-Israeli doctor from Ziv Medical Center in the north begged Lebanese authorities, please let us treat your people. Please don't let this be another war or another terror attack perpetuated by Hezbollah. So very definitely thoughts being targeted at Hezbollah for being responsible for at least the ammonium nitrate stockpile. But we will keep you updated on the Israel Brief as investigations go on, if there's any response to our offer of aid and what will happen there. But now it's time to look more domestically, and we're talking COVID-19 and some very interesting developments. There will be more enforcement of restrictions in red zones. And as I mentioned on yesterday's edition of the Israel Brief, we now have an additional 2,000 troops that will work with the health ministry to try and combat COVID-19. But some positive news. Ben Gurion will be setting up a COVID testing station. This is Ben Gurion Airport, as we move towards reopening our skies on the 16th of August. And earlier today, Defense Minister and Alternate Minister Benny Gantz announcing that Israel will start with human testing for a possible vaccine in September. But let's look at the stats, because the numbers are important. From the start of the pandemic, Israel has had 78,514 cases of COVID-19 with 569 fatalities. At the moment, there are 24,583 people infected, 345 of them in serious condition, but 53,362 people have made full recoveries. And we really hope that as we head towards the end of 2020, that we will also head toward finding a vaccine. The health commissioner that has been tasked with heading the Coronavirus Commission, Professor Ronnie Gamsu, has set the 1st of September as a target to significantly bring down the rate of infections. And looking further afield, as we gallop out of 2020, we are also headed towards elections in the United States in November, and it will be President Trump likely up against Joe Biden. But we are watching developments very, very closely, and quite concerning for Israel and the pro-Israel community is that Rashida Tlaib has won her primary in the state of Michigan. She is a very, very vocal supporter of BDS, as well as the Democratic candidate for Missouri, also winning her seat or winning her primary. She's also a Democratic candidate, very pro-BDS, and ultra-left organization, If Not Now, have come out in endorsement of Ilhan Omar. But we will be watching the developments there very, very carefully. So those are the top stories making headlines as we head into the weekend. Don't forget, you can check out our content online at www.layoftheland.online. It promises to be excellent weekend reading material or weekday reading material. We are also up on Facebook at Lotl Site. Give us a like or a follow if you haven't done so already, and drop us a Shabbat Shalom message. We always bring you something interesting on a Shabbat, as well as an article from our archives to keep you entertained. We are on Twitter at Lay of the Land with the digit 5, and as I mentioned earlier, that YouTube channel at the Israel Brief. So with all of us here at Lay of the Land and myself with the Israel Brief, we want to wish you and yours, from our homes to your homes, a safe, a healthy, a peaceful weekend, and Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rolene Marks. We'll chat again on Monday.